Ghost? Barbara almost spat out the word. But there's no such things as ghosts. Are there? As I said, Barbara, it's only rumors, people saying they've seen her and so forth. Nothing to be worrying about. Miss Falconer seemed to be doing her best to calm her ever-present fears. Has anyone heard her? I mean giggling and all that stuff. It's just. She stopped herself and her lip began to quiver. If I tell her, she may get worried and tell my parents. Oh, it's nothing. Are you sure you're okay? She gave a warm, but rather concerned expression. I am here to help. If there's anything bothering you. At that moment the chimes sounded signaling the end of that period. Barbara thanked her advisor as she walked out into the corridor. As she slowly drifted through the rest of the morning's lessons, she found the idea of a ghost very disconcerting. Lunchtime soon arrived, but instead of leaving the campus for lunch, she sat down in the student garden eating her packed lunch. What if some joker knew Sarah's story, was playing the tricks on me? So that seemed to rule out Jake's involvement. Barbara. She looked up seeing Sally running towards her, a huge grin on her face. She did look a lot better now. Hi Sally, what's going on? Oh. Sally's grin vanished. You're already having your lunch. She sighed, trying not to show her disappointment. Don't you like me eating my lunch? Barbara frowned. It did seem an odd thing to say. No. No. Sally's pale face turned red with embarrassment. Oh, I'm sorry. I was kind of hoping that you'd sit with me in the cafeteria. You see, my mom says I should, hang out, get some friends. But you see, they don't talk to me. Sorry. Barbara smiled at her friend. Look, how's about I join you in the cafeteria tomorrow? I was planning to go up to the library to do some research on my house. You want to come? Well, there isn't much else to do around here. I'll take you up there. The library is in the old part of the school. Sally gestured to an old-looking 3-story high building, with a small tower attached to the roof. Right up there. I hope you're fit. It's quite a climb. The girls headed through the pair of heavy wooden doors at the entrance. They squeaked longingly open. A long dark corridor lay out in front. Its dull lights flickered, hardly breaking the near-dark place. Thin streams of daylight could be seen coming through open classroom doors. On reaching the stairs, they started the long climb up within the tower. Round and round, way above their heads. I have to admit, Sally said as they reached the 3rd stairwell. I've always hated coming up here. I'm afraid of heights. Her tone became more serious. You have any fears, Barbara? What a funny thing to ask. No, I'm not afraid of anything, she lied, trying to keep her calm demeanor. Why do you ask? Well, most people are afraid of me. I take it you already know that I look like Sarah Winterfield. I suppose I can't really blame them. No, I'm not afraid of you. Do you think that people aren't avoiding you because your mother's a teacher? Or because you look like her? Maybe a bit of both. Sally did her best to reason. Soon they reached the top of the stairs, looking up at 2 large red doors just ahead. Fresh air blew in from 2 open windows on opposite sides of the walls. It's through here, Sally said as she pushed open on the doors. The room itself was a small one, laid out in the tennis court formation. Bookcases ranged along all the walls, with one in the middle parallel with the end walls. The middle-aged librarian regarded the students with his suspicious brown eyes, as if it was abnormal for the room to be used at lunchtime. What exactly are you looking for? Sally asked. This is only the 2nd time I've been up here. Newspapers, old ones, anything to do with Sarah's disappearance and the house. Can I help you too? The librarian asked coldly. Yeah, kind of. Barbara smiled at him, but his expression didn't change. I was wondering if you had any old newspaper cuttings. I'm kind of new in town and Before she had a chance to finish, he had already vanished into a small storeroom at the back. Sally shrugged. I think he likes the quiet. Most of the students here use the public library. Most of the books here are older than the school. I heard that young Sally, he called from the store. Don't you set off another complaint that I get paid for doing nothing. It's not my problem that the kids in this town have no interest in their history. Yes, Mr. Hartley. Good. I hope you find what you looking for, Miss. Hoffman. Barbara Hoffman. Quite. Hartley raised an eyebrow. I hope you find what you're looking for. There's a photocopier next to the history section." He slammed 3 large books full of newspapers down. A cloud of dust took to the air. Barbara sneezed. "Ah. I must be allergic to dust." She took 2 of the books off the top, leaving Sally to pick up the last one. They placed them down on the table and started the long haul of searching for the disappearance or any other Winterfield family event. Each of the sheets had been placed in clear covering which had now turned a yellow color along with the newspapers themselves. The town seemed to be a very quiet place where nothing seemed to happen. Reports on various Founders' Day celebrations and other such local events and school students' achievements. Turning to the next page, Barbara stopped and flicked back. There it was, as clear as a candle in the darkness. "Winterfield heart torn apart, Sally, I found it." She nearly yelled. "Keep the noise down," Hartley complained. She carried on reading out loud. "Yesterday Winterfield was shattered with the tragic news of Sarah Winterfield's abduction from her own back garden, while a group of troublemakers distract unsuspecting parents." It was dated the 21st November. Quickly she ran over to the copier. Sally found an appeal by the family to the abductors to tell them where their daughter was, and lastly about the Winterfields packing up and leaving. It wasn't till Barbara gave the first article a proper look over did she realize. "Oh," she gasped to herself. In the center was a picture of Sarah. If there wasn't such a time lapse between them, she could have been Sally's double. The freckles and the frizzy hair. The photo was black and white, so it was hard to get the hair color. She was pretty sure it would have been red. That image were to remain with her. She could see why the townsfolk feared her. Almost a ghost-like image on Winterfield's last heir. Taking all the information she could get her hands on about the house, also about the family, getting it done just before the afternoon session began. Barbara separated from Sally at the end of the day. She headed straight to the student car park to meet Jeff, having the intention of confronting him about Sally. The Cadillac stood out like a sore thumb in amongst the other smaller cars. "Sorry," Jeff puffed, running behind her from the school building. "We got kept behind in class." He unlocked the car. "Hop in." "So how was your second day?" "It was okay. I got some stuff on Sarah's abduction. Miss Falconer was very helpful." Barbara glanced across the dashboard and up his arms to his face. "You didn't tell me you went out with Sally. You said you only saw her around." He rubbed his forehead, trying to his best not to meet her gaze. "I was, well, kind of afraid. I didn't know you were friends with her." "You were afraid I would think you were weird?" "Yes, but I've regretted ever since. I never wanted to hurt her feelings." His voice was very regretful. "She really wasn't my type. Cross my heart it wasn't because of my image. Honest. I believe you." She smiled. Pulling into the long driveway up to the house, Barbara jumped out of the car and waved Jeff goodbye. She watched as the car pulled away, but before going up to the house she checked the swing, but everything was quite normal. For this place anyway. Pulling out her keys, she found that the door was a little way open. "That's odd," she told herself. "Mum should be picking up Jake. Colin said he was picking up his car." Her whole body seemed to grow cold. The door creaked as she slowly pushed her way inside. "Hello." The gloomy hall seemed to bounce back her cries in a warped echo. "Colin, Mum, Jake, is that you?" No answer. The door to the corridor that led to the kitchen was open. Pulling herself together, Barbara crept quietly down the corridor. The kitchen door was also partly open. Just then her attention was drawn to the backyard by the sound of giggling. As silently as she could, Barbara pushed open the back door. The swing was moving again in a plain blur of laughter, and sat in the seat was a red-haired girl. "Sarah,"